Welcome back. Today I will be reacting to a debate between JustPearlyThings and Destiny. And the title is I'll Smack You Up.
What's a man's place? A man's place is to...
Okay, so to start, I don't think it's particularly helpful to overgeneralize relationship standards because every relationship is different. Therefore, a man's place in a relationship is going to look different depending on who he's with and what they negotiate. Now, I'm getting ready to contradict myself slightly, but just bear with me. Generally speaking, I believe that most women who are looking for a long-term relationship want to be with someone who is responsible, reliable, and has good judgment. I don't think a woman who has her shit together, which are the women that we should really hold up and admire, I don't think she's necessarily prioritizing the ultimate alpha male, the badass who goes to the gym every day and watches videos of andrewtate. I don't think that's the type of man that high quality women are looking for. I think they're looking for someone who's responsible, reliable, and has good judgment, and also someone who responds well under pressure. But what I've noticed from a lot of these red pill figures is that they don't seem to respond well when they're under pressure, particularly in debate settings where they're having difficult conversations, which is why you'll often see people like SNEAKO, Myron, and andrewtate overreacting whenever they're challenged. That's not necessarily the marker of a strong man, because ideally, if you're aspiring to be a strong man, you want to be someone who is emotionally stable, has thick skin, and is able to regulate your emotions even under pressure, even in the midst of chaos. And what I often see and hear when listening to these guys is that they aren't necessarily proficient at regulating their emotions, navigating difficult conversations, giving people the benefit of the doubt. That's not necessarily in their wheelhouse.
Look after me. Make sure he's got my best interests at heart. And he has to make the final decision, which improves both of us. His final decision.
That's interesting because although a man might have good judgment, he's not always going to make the right decision because men are imperfect. We're not robots. We might malfunction like robots, but that just speaks to my point, which is in a relationship, both people need to know when to take the wheel, right? So think about it in terms of you decide to take a 3-day cross-country trip with your girlfriend, right? You're both in the car. If you want to get to your destination in 3 days, you're going to have to alternate between drivers. The man can't drive for 72 hours straight. He's going to get tired. His executive functions will become compromised, which will affect his judgment. And if his girlfriend doesn't take the wheel, he's going to crash the car. Even if you're the most alpha male or dominant guy, if you want to be in a healthy relationship, you can't be the leader 100% of the time, right? You can't. And some women might say they want a guy who can take the lead 100% of the time. First of all, stay away from those women because you might as well be raising a child at that point, right? If I'm taking care of you and making all of the decisions for our relationship 100% of the time, something's wrong. And that's exhausting. And I've been in relationships like that. They aren't healthy. So it's up to you to get a good understanding of what a girl wants before you get into a committed relationship with her. You have to make sure you're on the same page and that your relationship styles are compatible. Yes, that takes time, but it also takes open communication, asking her what her preferences are. What are her non-negotiables? And if you can't meet the standards that she set, if you know you are unable to satisfy her in the way she wants to be satisfied, you gotta move on. You gotta move on. See, relationships are all about fit. They're all about fit. Why do I say that? I say that because you can't change anybody, right? You can't take a woman who wants to be in control and make her submit to you. It's just not going to happen. Her behavior, her thought patterns are the result of decades of socialization. You're not just going to come along with a big dick and a lot of money and change her entire makeup. And if you try, that will cause nothing but resentment. And so you just have to find the right fit for you, right? But a lot of guys aren't interested in finding the right fit because that takes time. And you know how most guys are. I mean, I've gone through my phases. A lot of us feel like we don't have time to waste. we are very impatient. And that's a problem because there is no room for impatience in a healthy relationship.
My benefit.
So when he's not there to look after you, who's looking after you?
I've got a man. So any decision I make, even for me being on the podcast, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for him. Because before I decided to come on the podcast, I asked his permission. People might think that's really strange. What is your permission? What do you think about it? This is what I'm going to do.
I don't think that's strange. I think when you are married to someone, you move as a unit. And when you move as a unit, it's incumbent on you to check in with them about certain things, like going on a podcast that is viewed by millions of people, right? That's a pretty big decision. And on the other side of the spectrum, if her man was the one who decided he wanted to go on the podcast, I think it would only be right for him to check in with her as well. Because if shit goes haywire, it doesn't just affect you. Once you put yourself in the public eye and you become well known, there's a lot of bullshit that comes with that. And it's going to affect your partner in one way or another. So the last thing you want to do is be inconsiderate and make a decision like the one she made without consulting with your significant other. And I know I might get some guys out there who say, if I want to go on a podcast like this, I'm not checking in. That's why you're single. That's why you're single, and that's why you're going to be single for a very long time. Even if you find someone to put up with your shit, it's going to be short-lived because you don't know how to compromise. You don't know how to consult. You don't know how to check in, right? I'm not saying that your partner has to have the last word on everything. That's not what I'm saying. But common courtesy is that you check in with them.
And there's certain things he didn't like. So I told Pearl, you know what? I can't do this. I can't do that. I can't do whatever. And then we came to a conclusion. But the final decision is always his. And I trust him with it because he'll always have my best interests at heart. And I'm a trained mechanic.
And maybe that's because you've got a good man.
Yeah.
Wait, hold on. Even if you have a good man, that sounds ridiculous.
Yeah, maybe because I can't do what you just said. I can't. Because that's you putting all the trust.
You can't check in?
Because why would you need permit? Like, there might be boundaries within the relationship. So, for instance, like, I don't want you to do like a Pearl like strip show dance thing with like male strippers. Like, I can understand that because that's like boundaries of the relationship. But in terms of like, I need your permission to do a show because I like if your boyfriend or husband or whatever, if he's not like in this world, you probably know better than he does. Like, what's better for you? I'd imagine.
But the thing is, we're both not in this world. We both don't know about social media. He didn't, and it's blown up.
But you're in this world now, right?
Right.
Yeah, but I still had his permission, so there might be certain things that have developed since me being on the podcast that he doesn't agree with.
But how
so
do you know
I will
he's
cut
got your
them
best
back.
interest at heart?
I mean, if you pick a good guy, I mean,
He's a good guy.
Yeah.
But imagine if you didn't have a good guy. So
yeah,
all
this
the
is what
women
I'm
that are
trying to
trapped
say.
in abusive
Well, and
relationships.
also, you never know if you have a good.
Well, then let's talk about that instead of trying to project on and pick apart her relationship, because it sounds like her dynamics are set up in such a way where her and her partner are both satisfied. But I think that's a good point. You know, what if you are in an abusive relationship? Talk about it. But just don't muddy the water.
Can I just say,
believe that.
don't you know yourself better than anyone?
No, not necessarily, because
Yeah, sometimes you don't. Sometimes you don't. If you find someone you love and connect with, there are going to be things they see in you that you don't see in yourself. And they're going to be able to telegraph what the outcome will be if you do something that might be self-destructive. You might not be able to telegraph the outcome, but they can, because they're constantly watching your mannerisms. They're constantly analyzing your thought patterns. They know what makes you happy, what makes you sad, what makes you nervous, what embarrasses you, what fills you with guilt. They know what your insecurities are. They know what you've done wrong in the past. And sometimes we lose sight of that, right? And since I am not always in a state of deep self-reflection or introspection, there are times where I get a little confused about what I want, who I want to be, who I am. And that's what she means by having a significant other who knows you better than you know yourself. Because there are some people you vibe with, and when you put in enough reps with them, when you put in enough years, when you've been through highs and lows, there are going to be certain aspects of who you are that you have yet to come to grips with that your partner already knows. They already know. That's why it's, you know, it's good to have someone like that in your corner who, quote unquote, knows you better than you know yourself, especially if they've proven themselves to be responsible, reliable, and good decision makers.
Because I'm human. I got bad things and I got good things. I'm just as bad as anybody else. And I will always take other people's opinions. And then when he says stuff, I don't always take it as hard as Pearl knows, because thanks to Pearl, you know, sorted out a few problems where I've had to, like, you know, stop like being stubborn.
But you've given another human authority over your decision making in life.
Yeah. Sorry, can I add something onto that?
And there's nothing wrong with that. Everything requires context, right? But there's nothing inherently wrong with giving someone else the power to make decisions for you. Because there are going to be times where if you leave the decision up to me, I'm going to choose the worst option. Not because I'm incompetent, not because I'm not a man, but because I'm imperfect and I don't always get it right. And I think that's what they're missing here. The underlying assumption in that young lady's question is that every decision she makes is the right decision. Therefore, there is no need to default or consult with someone else. Now, it's one thing if you're with someone who's very controlling and power hungry in a relationship, that's not someone you want to be with in the first place. However, there is nothing wrong with admitting to the person you're in a relationship with that this is a tough call. I don't know what to do in this situation. And I need you to tell me, if you were in my shoes, what would you do? And if you're with a girl who is nurturing, accepting, compassionate, and knows who you are, she's going to give you the best remedy for the situation. And following her lead doesn't make you any less of a man so long as you're able to reciprocate. That means when she needs you to be the strong one, when she needs you to make the final decision, when she needs you to reassure her because she doesn't know what to do, whether it's with a friendship that she has that's gone awry, whether it's something that's happening at her job, whether it's a blow up she just had with a family member, you're going to have to step up and make sure that you are advising her correctly and that the final decision is made in her best interest. Because sometimes we think if we take a certain action, the outcome will be more positive than negative, but that's not always correct. So you need somebody, your partners. If you want to be with somebody you're making decisions for 100% of the time, and you don't want to have a balanced relationship where you're pouring into their cup and they're pouring into your cup, go buy a dog or go adopt a 2-year-old. Because that's essentially what you've reduced your relationship to, a strictly paternal endeavor, where you are replacing the role her father was supposed to play in her life. And I don't know about you, but if there's one thing that gives me the heebie-jeebies, it's fatherless behavior, right? Women whose fathers were absent, abusive, or emotionally unavailable. And as a result, those women develop self-esteem issues that they drag into their romantic relationships. I don't have time for that. So if you want to be with a man who's going to be bossing you around and telling you what to do 24 hours a day, I'm not that guy. That's fucking exhausting. And they might think that's what they want, those types of women, but eventually they will grow to resent you the same way they secretly resent their fathers. You got to watch out for certain things, man. You got to watch out for certain things. That's why you have to take care of your mental health so that you can find out what triggers you, what's at the root of your insecurity, and how to heal from that. Because once you get to a place where you've healed, you're not going to attract the same women you attracted when you were a fucking mess, right? You're going to attract higher quality women who will match your energy and will be on the same positive vibration. It's not always going to be positive because no relationship is always positive 100% of the time. But you and her are going to be at a certain level to build each other up and compensate for each other's shortcomings. See, that's a dynamic duo. When you get two people in a relationship who are confident, know themselves, and are on a mission, they're unstoppable.
Auntie, what you said is the exact same situation with me. I have a fiance and I would not come up here unless I've spoken to him about it and he's actually agreed with it. So the only reason why I'm sitting here is because my fiance doesn't have a problem with me sitting here.
But can I ask you something, right? When you go out on the street, which a lot of people don't recognize, when you go out and you dress and you speak, who do you represent when you go out? As a woman in a relationship.
Your man, your husband.
Right.
The same
So
way he
when you're at
represents
school and you're in uniform, you represent the school.
Yep.
When you go out as a child, you represent your parents.
Yep.
If you have a man, you represent your man.
Right.
You're a couple. So people are going to know that if he sees you on a podcast and you're doing God knows what, you're going to represent him. People are going to know that's so-and-so's woman.
Yeah.
So you have to listen to him. You don't tell, he doesn't tell me what.
She makes a good point. If she was up here acting a fool and not regulating herself or being mindful that she's part of a unit and that not only does she represent herself, she represents her man, that could be detrimental to their relationship because his friends, his family, his colleagues might start looking at him different, right? Their perceptions of him might skew in a negative direction, which means they might start treating him worse than they treated him before. So it's important to be conscious of that. Yeah, that when you're in a relationship, you're not only representing yourself as an individual, you represent the person you've committed yourself to.
So you have to listen to him. He doesn't tell me what to do, but I have to take his feelings
See, and that was a little, that chuckle, I don't know why that girl did that, because saying that you have to listen to your partner should be a given, right? That's like a basic tenet in any healthy relationship, listening. So I don't know where the passive aggressiveness is coming from this girl.
into account.
Well, wait.
And then make the right.
Do you flip
That's
that? Do you
fine.
flip that and to say, does he represent you as well when he's doing stuff?
Of course.
Yeah, of course.
Well, then do you have authority over him to give him permission to do stuff or not?
Yeah, certain
He,
things,
he won't
yeah.
do anything.
No, but
We discuss
feminists wouldn't do that.
everything.
A feminist
It works
wouldn't.
both ways.
But
A
you said you
feminist doesn't do that. This is why I really don't like these buzzwords, because they have been contorted, distorted, and manipulated to reinforce people's pre-existing worldview. That's why whenever I hear terms like socialist, communist, Democrat, Republican, conservative, liberal, I tune it out. Don't tell me what is and what is not feminist, because you are not the creator of that term, nor are you an expert on its historical meaning in the various layers and dimensions of feminism. Because if you were, you wouldn't make such a sweeping statement such as, that's not very feminist of you, or whatever she said. So to me, that just displays her ignorance. The fact that she thinks listening to your significant other, particularly a man, is not feminist, as if both things can't coexist. And this goes back to a common thread in a lot of my videos, right? This critique that people like to live within binaries. It's either one approach or the other. You're either a conservative or a liberal. You're either an alpha or a beta. You're either a leader or a follower. And the world is not that simple. Human behavior is not that simple. Social interactions are not that simple. These terms that are being thrown around are not that simple.
No decision.
It's not equal. You said
He
you
has
have
the
your place.
final decision.
Guys,
By definition, it's equal, because she just explained to you that the standards he sets for her, she also sets those same standards for him. That is by definition equality. We're checking in with each other to make sure we're on the same page. Because if I make the wrong decision and the outcome ends up hurting you, you're going to feel some type of way. And that is going to fracture our relationship. Vice versa. If you make a bad decision that affects me in a harmful way, I'm going to feel some type of way. And that feeling I carry could fracture our relationship. So I don't understand the pushback, right, against the basic fundamentals of any healthy relationship, which are communication, compromise, and common decency.
we need
Okay,
one at a
okay,
time.
you-
Auntie,
alright.
finish your point. and
Yeah,
then
he has the
we need-
final decision. If he's going to do something and he says, oh, I'm going to do that. And I'm like, do you know what? I don't agree with that. Because it's been so long, 32 years and counting. Because it's been so long.
And you know, he might do it. He might say, listen, I understand that's how you feel, but this is something that I have to do. We can compromise on the terms in which it gets done, because you never want to completely disregard the feelings of your significant other, especially when they've proven to you that they're responsible, reliable, and have the capacity to exercise good judgment. See, we're going to keep coming back to that in this video.
He will know that there must be a reason behind it that I don't agree with him. Now, he will either listen to me, as I would do him, because I don't have to take everything he says as gospel. It's up to me whether to take it or not.
But you're
And
basing it
9
on
times out of
32
10,
years.
I will listen to him rather than listen to my
All right.
friends.
But look, what about
Yeah, 32 years of him sticking with her through thick and thin. What else do you want her to base that on? I mean, most people have trouble staying in committed relationships for 3 months, let alone 30 years. Listen, if you could put up with my shit for 30 years, you best believe I'm gonna listen to you. Because you wouldn't have put up with my shit for 30 years if you didn't love me or want what's best for me. Because quite frankly, I wouldn't have kept you around as long if you didn't love me through the ups and downs or do what was best for me, even when it might have been hard for you. See? And so with these girls' mindsets, I have a very difficult time imagining them securing a long-lasting relationship, because truth be told, if I'm with a woman and she's constantly making decisions that impact our relationship without talking to me about it, or every time we do talk about it, she dismisses me and does what she intended on doing from the very beginning, it's not going to last long. I'm telling you that right now. I don't do arrogance, lack of gratitude, or disrespect. We might have our moments, but those will not be constant fixtures in our relationship.
Finally, listen to their friends.
What about most of us that haven't had 32 years? And so are you saying that I've been with my man 2 years and I must, what he says goes? This is what my struggle is.
What I'm trying to say is
you've been able to build that trust. You've been able to know that he's got your best interest at heart.
Yeah.
You've been able to know that he has your right intentions. But most of us haven't had 32 years to practice all that.
Do you know,
that's why it's better to practice sooner rather than later, right? Because I think she's dropping gems on you to help you understand the ways in which you might be able to position yourself to cultivate a long-lasting relationship. But it sounds like you're very resistant to it, which is understandable. You know, in many ways, I'm resistant to it, right? I mean, without sharing too much information, commitment issues are real, man. Commitment issues are real. And love is scary. Falling so deeply for someone that you risk losing part of yourself in the process is a scary endeavor, especially when there's no guarantee it's going to work out. But sometimes you have to take the risk if you want to get the reward. And so I'm doing all this preaching, but in all reality, you know, I'm really preaching to myself here. That's why I love doing these videos, because they allow me to express myself in a way that is cathartic, in a way that forces me to step outside of myself and encourages me to take my own advice.
Adopt your position.
Can I say something? Do you know something, right? Yep. You as a woman would know within the first 6 months whether that man is for you.
I can't say that.
Because
I married a man that
I would know
didn't end up being...
Well, then girl, that's a judgment thing. That's a judgment thing on your part. And that's okay. We all have bad judgment, going back to what I said before. But that's why it's important to identify what made you attracted to that man in the first place. Knowing what you know about how that relationship started and how it ended. What were the miscalculations that you made, which led to such a disastrous outcome? And these are questions that we all have to ask ourselves when we get out of a bad relationship, because it's easy to blame the person we were with. And yeah, they might deserve a lot of the blame, right? Because we also don't want to engage in victim blaming, because that could make us feel bad too. But we want to be introspective. We want to be constructive. You don't want to get out of a relationship with someone who treated you bad, and then all of a sudden you have these trust issues. You have this fucking paranoia that the next girl is going to do you the same way that the last one did you. You don't want to do that to yourself. That's self-destructive. When that happens, you know who wins? Not you. It's the girl that did you dirty. She wins. If you walk away from your last relationship with feelings of bitterness, hatred, jealousy, resentment, those feelings are not going to hurt your ex. She's gone. She's out of the picture now. They're going to hurt you, because you are the one who's left picking up the pieces. So what are you going to do? Are you going to leave the pieces on the floor, or are you going to pick them up and rebuild yourself? And there's not enough rebuilding going on. There's a lot of blaming going on when people get out of bad relationships and they start making these overgeneralizations. Women ain't shit. Men ain't shit. I know because I dated one. Okay, so we just using personal anecdotes to shape our perception of reality? We just dragging our baggage into the next relationship? That's what we doing? You got to be smarter than that. You got to be more emotionally intelligent than that.
But me personally, I would know. I was a single parent, just like you. I was a single parent, and we split up. But when I met him back, he was a single parent. So I know that anything he says, if it jars in my heart, I have to think to myself, you know what, that don't feel right. Let me discuss it. But if I think to myself, I am not going to be at a detriment, then I'll go with it, because it's not harming me. So if I think in my head as a woman that what he's saying doesn't benefit me or harms me, I will discuss it. And then, because it's not the fact that, oh, what he says goes. I will discuss it with him, and I want to hear where he's coming from. Because, all right, then, for instance, you got a man, and both of you have a favorite artist, and the favorite artist gives you 2 free tickets to go, and then your man looks at the ticket and says, you know what, you're not going. What would you do?
This conversation couldn't happen with my man anyway. No. Honestly, I think
go ahead and answer the question. No, answer the question. She's taking you somewhere with this. She's trying to get you to understand something.
This conversation couldn't happen with my man anyway. No. Honestly, I think the modern relationship is way too. The modern relationship that I'm looking for is way too equal in terms of opinion and position. There's a conversation. It's about what's making me happy, and if it's
see, then you're not ready. You're not ready to be in a healthy relationship, girl. You're not ready, because it can't just be about what makes you happy, right? Because relationships are not about being self-serving 100% of the time. They're not about being self-centered 100% of the time. That goes for men and women. Because once you get into that territory, you start gravitating towards a very narcissistic perspective on what your relationship should look like. And if you feel like you always have to have the upper hand over your partner, if you feel like you always have to have leverage over them, then you got to ask yourself why that is. And you need to retrace your steps back to figure out what caused you to adopt that mindset. Because her philosophy isn't coming out of nowhere. It's based in her lived experience and the ways in which she's been done wrong, right? So we got to be empathetic about that. But when we listen to her, we also have to, and I hate to put it like this, we have to watch her like a cautionary tale of what can happen if you don't properly address relationship trauma. Because this is what happens, man. I don't think she's a bad woman. I don't think she's stupid. I think she has an opinion which functions as a defense mechanism for her so that she never gets hurt again. That's my hunch. I could be wrong.
Taking my best friend to that concert, he wants to see me smile and he wants to see me happy. That's what's going to happen in that concert.
But you didn't answer the question.
So the question was,
I asked you, what would you do? Is like when he asks you to do something that you don't want to do.
Oh, baby girl, I'm going to have to go ahead and skip you, Pearl, because I don't know. I don't want you to throw a wrench into this conversation. And I know I might have some Just Pearly fans, Just Pearly Things fans out there, but I'll be completely transparent in saying that I don't think she brings a lot to the table. From what I've listened to, it doesn't sound like she herself has a lot of relationship experience. I don't know what sort of credentials, training, or confirmation she has to indicate she's an expert on these topics, besides a lot of subscribers. And as you know, you don't have to be an expert on anything to have however many subscribers she has. And that's not to knock her, because I think in order to get to where she is, you got to be clever, you got to be persistent, you have to be resourceful, and you have to be driven. However, more often than not, you also have to know how to follow a script. And that's where her and I diverge, because I'd rather not follow a script or adhere to any ideological camp, a thought camp. That's what I call them.
Go somewhere that you want to go to.
I will consider his feelings, but if it's in my best interest, I cannot put myself, the only man or the only being is God that can tell me by speech, by prayer, by whatever, by message.
God says obey your husband.
Your man. The man's
he's
the
my
head.
husband. This is what I'm trying to say. He's my man. He didn't put a ring on it.
But then
that's what I'm saying.
You should be with him until you put the ring on it.
But what I'm trying to tell you, baby girl, is he's not gonna put a ring on it. Most men are not gonna. They don't want that smoke. I mean, they're out there, but I don't. I know me. If this was a presentation, I'm cool. Because there's just too much. I would have to be a therapist. I would have to be a lover. I would have to be a coach. I would have to risk taking abuse from someone who has not conducted enough self-inventory to understand how their behavior is problematic. It's too much. And again, that's nothing against her, because I'm not the easiest person to get along with, at least not in the long term. right? So I have to acknowledge that. You know, it's possible that there's very little separating me from her.
I'm trying to say is, if I'm a feminist, what does it mean for me as a single woman? That's what I'm trying to understand from this conversation.
You guys, this is what I'm so confused about. And Auntie, you kind of did it and then walked to a more agreeable area. You guys talk about things that are basic relationship norms, but you like frame them in the most toxic way possible. I don't understand. So you talk about like, if I'm going to wear something and go out to a club, my boyfriend, my husband, whatever, is going to approve of it, which it, to some extent, like can make sense in a relationship context. But if you flip that around, if your boyfriend or husband says, I'm going to go out to party, you know, and there's like, you know, 10 girls there and like 2 guys, I imagine you'd have to okay that, right? You'd have to tell him whether or not you give him permission to do that, no?
Yes.
Okay, so you guys frame these things like my husband is the ultimate authority and blah, blah, blah. But that's not true. For all of you guys, it's a back and forth. Yeah. Like, you're going to be okaying what he does. He's going to be okaying what you do. That has nothing to do with masculinity or femininity or anything like that. Right. That's just like 2 adults having a relationship.
That's why I can't stand these buzzwords. They just muddy the waters and make these conversations more difficult to have. That's why I stay away from them. You will rarely hear terms like alpha, beta, masculine or feminine come out of my mouth. Rarely, because A, people have a tendency to shut down when they hear those words. B, they get emotionally triggered, which in my view is just as bad as shutting down. And C, they're just not productive, right? Because different people have different interpretations of what masculinity and femininity are. So instead of arguing about what is masculine or what is feminine, I like to have these conversations free of those buzzwords so that we could get to like the core of these issues, because relationship issues are human issues, right? They're not men's issues. They're not women's issues, right?
Auntie, because what does he saying that it is an equal exchange of looking out for each other?
No, I think well,
with me, I'm different, because if I'm gonna wear a short skirt and something sexy, I'm always gonna wear it with my man. Mostly I wear it at home. So when women are talking about they're not average, as a single parent, I had to be different. I had to stop going out there and thinking to yourself, you know what? I need a man. I didn't need a man. I know what I needed to do. I made the choice. I needed to look after my child. I needed to make sure I didn't have any more children.
You know, I'm not sure if I agree with the premise of how this caption is framed. You look down here, it says, being a single mother diminishes your value. I think it's important to contextualize that statement so as to bring more nuance to the table. I can say without a shadow of a doubt that being a single mother does not diminish your inherent value. It might diminish men's desirability for you in the dating market, but nothing about being a single mother diminishes your value as a human being. That is inherent to your existence. Nobody can take your value away. As long as you're still breathing, you have value.
I had to stop going out there and thinking to yourself, you know what? I need a man. I didn't need a man. I know what I needed to do. I made the choice. I needed to look after my child. I needed to make sure I didn't have any more children. I needed to make sure that I become a positive role model for him and make sure that he had male mentors out there. So much so that eventually when I got back to the first man that I was in love with, by the time we got back together again, he was a single parent. He was willing to take me as a single parent. And I took him as a single parent. So as far as I'm concerned, don't go out. If you're a single parent, look for other single parents. If you can't find no one that you trust, that you can hand over to, single parents unite. Single men who are parents, go out with single women who are parents. Because the women who are out there now, nobody wants to be average. Everybody wants to be above average. But you know what? I'm average. This is who I am. I've met somebody average. We got on great and it works. I don't want to find someone with a fancy car. When I met him, he never wasn't even driving. Eventually got a fancy car and I got it to drive. He gave it to me. But you hang your hat too high.
I love this woman's spirit. Based on what I'm hearing right now, I love her spirit. I love her energy. And I'm really grateful for the wisdom that she's sharing for me in this particular video. It deviates from what I'm used to. I mean, technically, I've only reacted to one video by JustPearlyThings, but I got to know who she is. You know, I got to know how she got on here.
Women out there, and they're average. Makeup don't make you more than average. Intelligence don't make you more than average. Education don't make you more than average. The clothes that you wear don't make you more than average. The podcasts you go onto do not make you more than average. It makes you popular. I'm talking. Let me finish. Let me finish.
No. You just interrupted a powerful moment. That's disrespectful.
Let me finish on it. Let me finish. I can't expand if I don't finish.
Stop. You got to stop talking. Stop. This is not how you engage in constructive discourse about sensitive topics. You don't cut somebody off, and then when they make you aware that you are cutting them off, you keep going. If I cut somebody off when they're in the middle of their sentence and they say something like, oh, hey, I was talking, or hey, let me just finish this sentence. At that point, I have to be humble and self-aware so as to take a step back and say, I'll take my mental notes, and as soon as they finish, I'll address what they said. But I'm not going to keep talking because this is a powerful moment. And in my view, she's not saying anything that's harmful or can be misconstrued as dishonest. What she's doing is the essence of what self-help content should look like.
I'm English, I'm Caribbean, I'm not African, so shut up and let me finish. When I finish talking, I've been sitting here, Africans are the best my ass.
You're gonna get
No, don't do that. I can't stand when people in the African diaspora go at each other about who's the best and who's not the best. Another rhetorical tactic that's used to unnecessarily divide people. Don't do that. We all walk on the same soil. We all have our high moments and our low moments, and we all have expiration dates. So there's no need to construct these artificial categories that place one group over another. You don't have to do that. And I don't even like when people joke like that, because those jokes are rooted in a history of stratification. That's colonialism. That's slavery. That's the history of genocide. We are better than you. Therefore, we're going to dehumanize you, dismiss you, attack you, and take everything you have.
Africans are the best. I've been sitting here. Africans are the best my ass.
You're going to get high blood pressure.
If Africans were the best, they wouldn't be on here talking bullshit. Speak for yourself. Say that you are the best.
Don't get in your feelings now, bro. You the one who introduced the petty shit into the conversation. Nah. What the fuck you mean? Nah. Man, shut the fuck up, bro. I like you better when you were silent. You ain't say shit for 40 minutes and the first thing you say, Africans are the best. Why you gotta put people over? That's how 13-year-olds talk about their favorite soccer teams from different countries. Oh, Barcelona is better than, what are the other soccer teams? Barcelona is better than the club league. Why you gotta do that, bro?
I'm not with that. I'm not with that. I'm not with that.
Listen, Rocky Witches, right?
I'm not listening.
Then shut the fuck up, bro. If you're not listening, shut the fuck up or walk off the set. I don't know why I'm getting so annoyed by this guy's aura, but it is very irritating to hear him talk, because he had 40 minutes to sit there and absorb the information that was coming at him. But instead, it sounds like everything that was being said went in one ear and came out the other. So instead of using this as an opportunity to learn and understand different people's perspectives, you bring in a random comment like Africa's the best. That would be the equivalent of me entering the room and being like, people who wear red shirts are the best. And then she says, red shirt's my ass. And I'm like, no, I'm not with that. I'm not listening to you because you said red shirt's my ass. No, I'm not going to listen to you. Like, some of these people, their maturity levels are not developed. They are not where they need to be given their age and the years of experience they've had on this earth.
I'm not listening.
Guys, stop. Michael, stop. You're saying single moms are average, right? And then you're single mom.
That's not what she said. That's not what she said. She said it's okay to be average and there's nothing wrong with being average. She didn't say single moms are average. She said that it's okay to be average. There's nothing wrong with being average. In fact, she's average and she's been able to carve out a good life for herself with a loving husband, kids, and a successful career. That's what she said.
Older than me, and you're saying look at you and look at me. Seriously, auntie. Are we going to be realistic right now?
Africans are the best, right? Africans are the best.
Oh, right? We're going back to that shit.
You're going to put yourself up against me. Now, I was asking Richie. Hang on. I was asking Richie.
King Riches.
Sorry, I don't know.
She ain't going to call you a fucking get the fuck. You acting like a 12-year-old, bro. These are the types of kids that you know, in high school, if you've ever taught on the high school level, you're gonna get kids like this. And with them, you know, you laugh and shit like that. And maybe if you want to teach them in a good way that, you know, their behavior is cringe, you just call it out for what it is and tell them that they're acting cringe and still like laugh it off. But with a grown-ass man, you a grown-ass man and you calling yourself king? What the fuck is the matter with you, bro? Tell us you're insecure without having to tell us you're insecure.
Properly, King Richard, the African man.
Esther, wait. Okay.
That's a violation. Don't disrespect African people. No.
You being bad faith. I don't like that shit.
You're disrespecting African people.
No, I'm not. You are
disrespecting African people.
Regardless of what group you belong to, carry yourself with respect. Don't be cutting people off, telling people to call you king, saying that your people are the best. Listen, I'm Puerto Rican. I love Puerto Ricans. There's no group of people on this earth that I love more than Puerto Ricans. But that doesn't mean I love anybody else less. That doesn't mean Puerto Ricans are better than any other group. So why the fuck would I even bring them into a conversation to establish a hierarchy between me and somebody else? It doesn't make sense. It's something that a teenager would do. Who's better, Superman or Batman? Who's better, DC or Marvel? The fuck are you making these comparisons for?
People, because you are not African.
He is here saying that African people are the best, right? I'm not disputing his point of view. I'm going by what's on the stage. And I'm saying, look at you, right, with your knowledge and your Africanness, and look at me, and you're going to tell me that Africans are the best. I'm not saying that what he's saying is wrong. I'm saying talk about what we've got here.
Right.
Talk about the sense. Talk about the brainwork. Talk about the educational and the professional speaking.
Okay, we have heard.
Come on.
Okay.
All right, I'm going to take a second to read Super Chat. Okay, go ahead, Michael.
All right, so...
she going to let Michael talk?
Is this mic even working? I don't even know. The reason why I said Africans are the best, because in that little back and forth, you said something along the lines of, oh, yeah, you're African, don't tell me nothing, I'm Caribbean, and I'm going to finish what I'm saying. And the way you said it, it came across...
No, I mean, I see where he's coming from a little bit now. Sometimes people who belong to certain groups are so prideful about what their particular group has achieved culturally and historically that they show a special admiration for the qualities and characteristics of those groups. So when I hear, don't cut me off, I'm going to keep talking. I'm from the Caribbean. She's not saying that she's better than anyone else. She's saying that she comes from a people who carry themselves with dignity and respect. And when you carry yourself with dignity and respect, you don't let everybody walk all over you. And that's something that's not specific to people in the Caribbean, but it is an aspect of her culture that she identifies with heavily as an individual. And so she's saying, my culture is represented by the way I carry myself. And in this moment, I'm going to carry myself with confidence so as to let you know you're not going to disrespect me, because I come from a people who don't negotiate respect. And sometimes you got to let people know, because there are certain cultural differences, and in some cultures it's okay to yell over other people and cut them off. She wasn't making a comment about where he was coming from. She was just letting him know where the fuck she's from and what that means to her. As someone who has Puerto Rican roots, I identify with that sentiment heavily. You know, Puerto Ricans, we are a passionate people, and we wear our hearts on our sleeves, and we're very laid back and chill. But the cultural norms in Puerto Rico socialize people in a manner to expect that chillness to be reciprocated. So when it comes to disrespect, that chillness, it's 0 to 100. That's what a lot of Puerto Rican, because that's our cultural make. It's not that we better than anybody. So I think that's what she was getting at.
It came across offensive, innit?
I didn't say that.
That's fair.
You said something.
And, you know, at that point, I don't know how I would respond to his grievance, especially considering everything that was said in the lead up. However, what I hope I would say if I were in Auntie's shoes is, damn, okay, that makes sense from your perspective. I could see why you would think I was using my heritage to place myself above you. And I just want to let you know that's not what I intended. The reason I brought up me being Caribbean was to let you know what kind of behavior is and is not acceptable where I come from, and how that informs the way I would like to be treated. But, you know, on this guy's end, I wish he would have said that, what he just said. I just wish he would have said it. And it's hard, it can be hard, especially if you have a sore spot for certain topics. It's always better to respond instead of react. But we all have those things that trigger us, a certain tone, a certain insinuation that we might perceive, so now I'm a little more sympathetic to where he's coming from because he explained why he said what he said.
Something along the lines, not word for word, but something along them lines. And that's why I said Africa's the best. I didn't say it in a way as putting down Caribbeans, but I said it as like a stop so that like we would actually start to think about what we're saying. And
but my brother, I just wish you would have started off with this energy, bro. There's a baseline of respect I have for him because he's able to articulate his grievance in a really thoughtful manner.
And it just went all mad from there. But at the end of the day, like, I just feel like people just say a lot of stuff and just need to think about what they're saying.
When they rewind it, they will say, I didn't say anything about Africans.
No, that's not what I said. No, you're not.
No, he was talking about what he perceived to be the insinuation. But I would imagine Auntie is so heated right now because she's been attacked in different directions for the past 46 minutes that she's still in fight mode. So even though he brought his energy levels down, she's probably still up here, which is understandable. That's why these conversations have to be handled delicately and they have to be moderated properly. Otherwise, they're not going to be informative or educational unless you have someone like me, breaking them down. They're just going to be entertaining. And there's nothing wrong with entertainment, but when you're playing with these sensitive topics, they're not to be played with. Full stop, right? They're not to be played with and televised purely as a form of entertainment because there's too much on the line. Too many emotions, too much trauma, is too much to be having a conversation like this in this particular setting where there's nobody who could step in and provide adequate clarification because there's nobody in this room who, quite frankly, strikes me as responsible enough to do so.
Listening, I said that you said you are African. No, I never said that. Bro, did you hear what I just said? No, but did you hear what I just said?
Repeat it, just in case I got it wrong. Go ahead.
You did obviously get it wrong.
Explain it again then, so I get it right.
Bro, I don't know what your energy's about, really.
Because you keep on calling me bro, I'm a woman. I've not got balls. You might think I am, but I ain't. So I'm asking you, I didn't understand what you said in the first place.
Bro, you're
so
just hyped for no reason. You're just hyped for no reason.
Explain it to me again.
You're too hyped. To be honest, I think honestly, and I won't call you bro ever again. I think honestly,
brother, you were just hyped 20 minutes ago though.
That you're too hyped for no reason, bro, to be honest. You're just hyped for no reason.
And your proof is?
Well, everyone can rewind and watch it and see you just hyped.
Okay, wait, hold on. I think he said something. It sounded like you were disrespecting him for being African. And he's like, Africans are the best. Not to shit on you for being Caribbean, but because he wanted
Destiny. Good. I'm glad he's doing
to stop that train of thought. I think that's what happened. There was a misunderstanding.
He misunderstood what I said because when he said that Africans are the best, I thought, why is he coming about that?
You were attacking him on that, but I think
my best friends are
See
African.
what I'm talking about when it comes to sensitive topics and the trauma that's associated with them. All it takes is one comment that could be slightly perceived as condescending for things to blow up. This just doesn't seem like the right structure to have a conversation like this.
I just want to talk about. White people.
So I have another. Okay. We like Africans and Caribbean.
And the optics aren't good. And quite frankly, the optics here are not looking good. That you got black folk fighting with one another on a white woman's show, and the white woman the optics don't look good. I would just encourage people to unite despite their differences.
Everyone's cool, okay?
And white people.
Yeah, white people too. Everyone.
Thank you.
I just think everyone
needs to just white people again. Got to bring it back to. No, I'm fucking around.
Be careful how you speak because people will take offense. If you say things in a certain type of way or anything like that, people will take offense.
Especially Caribbean people.
Maybe people need to listen carefully.
No. Everyone needs to be careful what they say.
They need to be careful.
Be careful what you say, man.
Disagree.
Please, can I say?
Nah, because I don't know, can't overpower me.
Listen, we're not going to that last time. It's a different podcast. Let's get over it.
This conversation could have been so powerful if there was a strong moderator in the room. I mean, Destiny, it looks like he tried to do his part, but this feels like it's just escalating.
Over yourself, Esther. This is a different podcast. Stop bringing up the past. Stop bringing up the past. Move on.
auntie. Come on. You have every right to feel the way you do and to, you know, be pissed off, but you're not making it any better.
Okay.
Please.
Okay. I'll give you. I'm gonna give her a chance to respond just because you've talked a lot. Do you want to say?
Thank you. Yeah. So what I was just trying to say is,
can you speak on the mic here?
Is she muted?
I think her microphone might be off.
Is she muted?
Oh, can you not hear me?
Okay, there you go.
I think, Auntie, you seem to have a pattern in which you say things and not realize what you've said. Because that's what you did to me last time. I don't think you even realized, because I think you said something about faith or whatever. I'm not going to bring it back.
Oh, no.
But the point is, because it's happened before, I think you don't realize.
And, you know, that might be a fair critique. However, this conversation has already been contaminated. So I don't know if she's going to be able to receive that critique in a constructive way. Even if you look at her body posture, her mannerism right now, she's just over the entire conversation.
That is what you're doing. So I'm not even calling you out right now. I'm just saying, maybe just be careful.
Call me out.
And if people...
Call me out. Excuse me.
And see, this is a difficult part of, like, when you're in a heated conversation with someone, you have to make a choice. Are you going to be the responsible adult in the room, which means that you carry yourself with composure, refrain from yelling, and give the person you're speaking with the benefit of the doubt? Or are you going to be the child who makes assumptions, interrupts, and assumes the worst? The issue with... Oh, hey, what's going on? Sorry. All right. You got to choose one or the other, because when you alternate between dispositions, it confuses everybody, right? And we're human, so it's going to happen. And we all have different tolerance levels, right? We have different thresholds for bullshit. And it sounds like everyone in this room has exceeded their threshold.
Hey, do me a favor, Disney. Put your head back a bit. I want to see her call me out. Call me out on what I said. I said your faith was weak, right? Right, let's go there. You want to go back in the past to embarrass yourself again?
Do you want to scream? Is this what you want? Let's go. We on the street.
And then she alternates right back to the childish behavior. You got to pick one or the other, because if you go back and forth, that's a recipe to escalate an already contentious conversation.
Oh my God,
Go ahead, call me out.
Get over
Call me
it.
out. You
Get
need to
over
it.
yourself.
I'm not bringing back the past. We've been there.
Talk.
We've done that.
Auntie, let's
this is
talk.
something different.
Okay.
Let's
I'm listening. Talk.
Okay.
Please talk.
Okay, guys,
It doesn't have to be a screaming match all the time.
Okay, guys.
All I'm just saying is clearly you even offended him. And I'm just saying, maybe sometimes just listen to people. When they're saying they're offended by what you say, maybe just...
These might be good critiques, but now's not the time to give them. Not after all that shit that just happened. You got to give people time to cool off and process their feelings. And so this conversation, if I were the moderator, it would have been cut off like 5 minutes ago. And I would have intervened a few times so as to keep it on the rails.
Tell me exactly what I said that offended him. Tell me exactly what I said.
Okay, guys. I'm gonna, guys. Esther, stop. Okay, we're gonna talk about anything else.
Wait, can I do the thing on the average?
This is when the show ends, right? Because any dialogue after this is going to be marred by the hurt feelings in the room.
Thing real quick, because we were talking about that for real.
Fine.
Okay.
Fine.
Yeah, can I add after you one bit I was going to say?
Well, it's not my show, so whatever's allowed. Okay, so what the reason why when somebody calls somebody average, that's usually perceived to be an insult, right? I think we hear it that way, we give it that way. Nobody's ever told somebody that their average is like a nice thing to say to somebody. Now we can say that like, oh well, average is most people are average, kind of, but also not really, right? If you look at like an average person has 1.9 legs, because some people are missing legs, but no human has 1.9 legs. You either have 2 or 1, right? When we look at who we are as people, there are some things that we excel at, and there are some things that we don't do anything at. So I think that's why we never feel average, right? Because we're above average, hopefully, at whatever our competency is in. So when you say that somebody's average, it's always going to be perceived as an insult. So I'm sure that Camilla or anybody else, you guys all had crazy degrees. You guys are all more educated than I am, right? I'm sure
Destiny, please slow down. Please slow down. I'm trying to process your words and the points that you're making, but it's difficult because you're packing so much into into, you know, a very short time frame.
On a whole, you might be an average person, but you're not going to perceive yourself that way because you push yourself forward in some areas that make you not average, and hopefully you're looking for other people that plug into those above average areas.
You know why?
Not whole, you might be an average person, but you're not going to perceive yourself that way because you push yourself forward in some areas that make you not average, and hopefully you're looking for other people that plug into those above average areas.
You know why? Can I just add a comment that was made towards me being average? I just want to say, it's not about even my degree, you know. It's not about my master's. It's about what I've overcome and achieved in this life that makes me a survivor and above average. I have been homeless on the street, and I'm sitting here today and not representing that. My struggle, my success makes me above average, and nobody can't tell me that I'm not. Because if that's what I need to tell myself to get up in the morning and do my shit, that's what's going to happen.
Right now, I resonate and agree with everything she's saying, and I love how she's saying it. There's a lot of pain there. And I think the pain is getting in the way of her ability to understand the points that Destiny just made, if that makes sense. She is coming at the conversation from an experiential angle, right? So she's talking about her personal experiences and how only someone who is above average can overcome what she has. And Destiny is approaching this conversation more from a philosophical / sociological perspective. So they're not speaking the same language right now.
That's all well and good.
Okay,
though.
can I answer that, please?
That's all well and good.
One second,
That's
I
all
did
well
want
and
to
good.
say something.
Hold on, bro. Like, hold on, bro.
Man, you gotta stop calling people bro. And also, the woman who's trying to speak hasn't said anything for the whole video, man. You gotta let her get her part out.
No, listen. One second. Listen.
Nah, but if you compare your time to hers, it's like 10-1, bro.
Listen. No, it's not your show. Shut up. Stop.
Don't listen. I never disrespect you. Do not disrespect me because I will not tolerate disrespect from no one. I'm not them, bro. You disrespected me, so I've got a reason. Don't talk to me like that, bro.
Stop. I just told you to stop. I just stopped.
Nah. Don't do that. Don't do that, Pearly, because this whole thing is just rubbing me the wrong way.
I'm going to go on to the next question. All right.
So I'm going to leave. Okay. I'm not going to tolerate disrespect. This might be your platform, but respect people when they come on your platform.
Okay, goodbye.
That's fucked up. That girl was just sitting there the entire time, listening to everybody's arguments, absorbing what people had to say. In the one moment she wanted to speak up, she gets interrupted by the one woman. Then she gets told to be quiet by the man. Then JustPearlyThings interjects and tells her she can't get a word in edgewise. She didn't deserve that.
Listen,
I hope this young lady who's walking off the set can take this experience as a valuable lesson, which is to say she might be too mature for this room because it seems very dysfunctional and chaotic. And she has conducted herself, at least from what I've seen, in a relatively graceful and peaceful manner. Quite frankly, I'm glad she's walking off the set because I don't think she fits a setting that is as dysfunctional as this show is.
I disrespected you. I disrespected you.
You don't know who you're talking to.
How did I disrespect you?
How did I?
Oh, no, girl, don't let yourself go. No, you were doing so good. Just keep it moving. Keep it moving. Walk out gracefully.
Bro. And then he said,
I call everyone bro. I have a show here and I call everyone bro.
Man, you talking to a boy. You gotta go ahead and walk out. Go ahead.
So that's why she's angry. You're angry.
Carry yourself with, just walk out. Walk out. Like I said, when you are in a heated conversation with someone and they're behaving in a childish manner, it is never, ever, fucking ever a good idea to stoop down to their level. It's going to make you look bad. It's going to make you look even worse if your natural disposition is someone who is put together. Low key, I feel kind of bad for this woman. Okay, I've sat through enough of this. If you enjoyed this reaction, please comment, like, and subscribe. It has been my pleasure putting out another video for y'all, and I will see you next time. Peace.